Hello and welcome to the Maple Grove City Report. I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us with Heidi Nelson, Maple Grove City Administrator. Welcome again to the program.
Thank you.
Number of items to touch on. We had a long meeting for the City of Maple Grove, about an hour and 50 minutes long. Two main items that were discussed. We'll get to those in a second. And also a lot happening around town, so we'll provide that update for you. Let's begin with the council meeting. Not much on the consent agenda to make extra note of, but we do have something in special business. You had a presentation related to business from the city and how the community college is tied in. Tell us about that great partnership.
Yeah, so we partnered with North Hennepin Community College with their graphic design class to develop kind of a logo and tagline for our business community for the city of Maple Grove. As part of our new economic development initiative, we wanted to develop kind of some branding and logo around our business community that we could use in our communications, social media, website, various things. And so they developed kind of a takeoff of our logo, the leaf logo. It incorporates that with the tagline of Maple Grove business, succeeding today, growing for tomorrow. So we're going to be using that with all of our communications. We've developed our social media platforms for Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. So if you are on those platforms, we encourage you to connect to us. We're going to use that in an effort to communicate more information about what's happening in our business community and also opportunities for different programs that the city might be doing or the county. But you know, we try to kind of stick to the government fare on our city communications. This gives us a little bit more latitude to really kind of share that information about the good news, not only from kind of our retail and services, but also from industry.
So we'll mention open to businesses a little later, and you'll see some of that information certainly on that site as well. And nice to see some students there that were involved in the artwork, and one of the faculty members as well. So
we should note their names: Jeffrey Yang and Mariah Radacek, and then the faculty member that we worked with was Jason Scotch, and so and then Barbara McDonald was there in the audience, too, the president of the college.
Wonderful.
And they just really appreciate the opportunity to give their students sort of this very meaningful work. And now, as these students go forward, and hopefully they see that logo and branding around the community, they can say, you know what, I was a part of that, and that was a really neat project. So it was fun to present them with those certificates of appreciation in honor of that work.
Next item was the public hearing that was held at the meeting, and this was one that took about 40 minutes of discussion, and it is something that happens on a regular basis. This is street rehab. So give us a little background of street rehab, just how important it is for the city, and then maybe some specifics about this project.
Yeah, so every year we go through a process of addressing pretty much about 10 lane miles of road every year in the city of local streets that we get out and mill and overlay. We also take this or reconstruct, depending on where the street is in its life. We also take this opportunity to try to address any utility repairs or replacements that are under the streets, and also address any stormwater issues that are happening in neighborhoods. Typically, we start out with communication ahead of time to those neighborhoods that are going to be impacted to let them know, hey, we're going to be coming through your neighborhood. If you have particular issues, please let us know. You know, if the neighborhood's been struggling with drainage over the last couple of years, it's something we want to be aware of.
There might have been a few with some of the storms we had,
a lot of people had drainage issues last September. I'm not sure it was a drainage problem.
Those,
a little bit more of a volume problem. But, but we have the opportunity then to address some of that when we're out doing these projects. So we get the information out early, and usually we project it in about 5-year increments. So we typically communicate out to our residents, listen, in this year we're going to be in your neighborhood. And part of that too is there's a financial commitment on behalf of the residents. Our residential assessment for coming through and redoing the streets and taking care of the utilities is about $4,900 per residential unit. Different calculations on the commercial side, but we want to give people a heads up about that so they can plan for it. They know it's coming. The measure that we use is the city covers the utility portions and the stormwater portions of the project, and then we split basically the street portion in half and assess that out. The $4,900 is sort of the high water mark. If the bids come in above that, we hold it the $4,900. If they come in below that, the assessment can go down a bit. So it gets to be predictable and people can plan for it, and it's sort of that shared approach that half is paid for by the property taxes and half by the residents. So if you received a mailing that had this blue, it's hard to see on TV, but it said 2017 Street Rehabilitation Program, it's coming to your street.
You're part of the fun.
You're part of the fun this year, and it includes information about all of the things that we try to address during that time and sort of the why that we do this. We want to make sure that we're getting through our street system every 20 to 30 years so that we don't come to a certain point in our community life that all of a sudden all the streets are deteriorating at once. We want to make sure that we're keeping ahead of that, makes it more manageable from a cost perspective and just workload. So. And then it also on the back outlined just kind of our funding philosophy and the costs associated with the project. So hoping that we'll now get out finalized plans and specs, get out to bid on those projects, hopefully have those contracts back and get started, you know, early June is kind of always the target to get those started. So.
And for people in the major parts of the city that want to know where this is, what are some of the key areas that are going to be done? And there's one parking area that I know a lot of people are going to be happy about within this project as well.
Yeah, so we have two neighborhoods, kind of more on the south or on the west side of the city in the Weaver-Dunkirk area, over in that area. And then Weaver and Dunkirk themselves will have some mill and overlay work done there. So there's going to be some impacts to the general traveling public. Then we have a commercial area kind of on the east end of town that we're going to be working on. The community center parking lot, you're right, it is in need of reconstruction. It's gotten super rough in the last couple of years, so we're going to be getting after that. And I think they're targeting to do that towards at the end of the season, maybe after school gets back in session and we've gotten through the heat, you know, the height of the summer. It will be impactful, no doubt.
Sure.
So they'll try to do it maybe half at a time kind of a thing. But yeah, the community center parking lot's going to get done in this one as well.
All right. Questions about that program certainly can go to the city's website, and they might even have that information that's on the blue sheet out there for you as well.
Yep.
Another major item in the meeting on the 20th was the community development related to Mills Creek. We've talked about this before. This is the concept stage plan. For people, explain what that stage plan is and what was the discussion of the evening.
Yeah, so our concept stage plan, we kind of have two different steps in our development application process, concept stage and then development stage. So at the concept stage, what we're really dealing with is the land use and the density. Are those issues appropriate for the site? And then the major road configuration. So we're trying to get feedback from both the Planning Commission and the City Council on those kind of major items. And we do that in an effort that before a developer goes and spends a lot of money on engineering and all the plans that are associated with the development, they get that feedback early in order to respond to that, and then they can proceed with their plans. So at this point, we're at the concept stage plan. This is for a project called Mills Creek, and it's a 66-unit, small lot, single-family rental type project, and meant to be kind of a little community, would have a number of amenities within it, a clubhouse, some walking trails, a community park, those kinds of things, but kind of a little neighborhood within itself. This one is just north of Weaver on Forest View, and it would be proposed that Forest View would connect to the north. Forest View comes down off 89th on the north side there, and that road would connect. There also was a proposal to connect 86th Street through there. I think one of the areas of this item ended up getting tabled, but the area of discussion was around the connection of 86th, and there was concern about the connection of Forest View. From a city staff perspective, we like connected roads for plowing and for emergency service access, all those kinds of things, the ability for residents to have multiple ways to travel. But I think the council wanted to take a look at some of those connections, so staff is going to be looking at some of those, the road connection issues, and this one will come back to the council on April 3rd, again at the concept stage level.
Very good. We will talk about that again at that point. Moving on in the meeting, there were some staff updates, and speaking of transportation, Ken had the fun of talking about a little transportation issue coming up this summer. That's going to be I-94 to Minneapolis, and it impacts the city in a number of ways. Tell us some of the things you're doing or thinking about with this. Yeah,
well, the good news for Ken is this isn't his project, so he just gets to talk about it and hear about the problems with it. But this is the I-94 project that really runs from Brooklyn Center all the way through the Lowry Hill Tunnel downtown. And so it involves resurfacing of roadway, some bridge repairs and replacements, and then work within the tunnel itself. So MnDOT has been warning for some time now that there'll be a lot of lane restrictions, and then at some point, I'm not sure the exact timing as of yet, but Lowry Hill the tunnel will actually be closed.
Oh, boy.
Which would be
Yes.
almost kind of unbelievable to think, how is that going to work? But we know that there will be impacts just to our residents who travel downtown for work.
Right.
So that's one piece we just want to make sure our residents are aware of that. The other piece, of course, is our bus service, our express bus service that goes to downtown. So a couple things that we're doing right now is we've extended route times a bit. We haven't changed our route as of yet, but we
Okay.
know that the lane restrictions will become greater as the project moves forward, and at that point we're going to have to shift to more kind of a 169 to 394 route.
Right.
Unfortunately, probably everybody else will be doing that as well.
True.
So it should be an interesting summer, and we're going to try to kind of remain nimble on this one. If there's things that we need to tweak as we go along, just working with Metro Transit and MnDOT. Michael Patz on our staff is attending. I think they're having weekly construction meetings, and so all the transit providers and local agencies along the way are able to attend those and get updates, and then kind of react to what's happening and see if there's different moves that we can make to make things a little bit better for the traveling public.
And those updates that Mike gets, are those updates you pass along on your website, or do you
Yeah.
direct to MnDOT's website? How does that communication happen? So if I'm a resident and it gets to be June, July, and I'm wondering what's the latest here, I
Yeah.
can go someplace.
Well, I think the easiest place is always to go to MnDOT's
Yep.
website. It's their project, so they're going to be the first piece of it.
Correct.
I think what we'll try to do is repeat out that information when it starts to, when there's going to be shifts that are certainly going to impact us. We'll try to make sure we're ahead of that on our social media website, whatnot. But I think MnDOT is probably the first best stop for that project.
All right, so keep your ears and eyes open as to what's happening with that. We'll talk a little bit more about buses a little later on in our report. Back to the meeting, we have some Planning Commission members that are brand new to the city. Tell us a little bit about that process that wrapped up.
Yeah, so we were down to 4 planning commissioners. A couple of people had to leave for just changing reasons in their life. They moved or work didn't allow them to participate anymore. And so we went out to recruit for new planning commissioners. We interviewed a number of candidates earlier in March, and then we finished up actually before the council meeting on Monday night, March 20th. And so the council, based on those interviews, had recommendation for 3 candidates to be appointed, Estes Parker, Susan Lindeman, and Joe Pickett. So we're excited to have them join the planning commission. So Dick Edwards will be working with them, getting them oriented to the program, and there's really kind of no good jumping in point here in Maple Grove. We just always have a pretty big docket of development activity, so maybe it'll be a little bit baptism by fire, but we'll get them oriented to the best of our ability, and then get them up at the dais and start weighing in on some of these development applications.
Excellent.
So
Thank you to them for their service.
Yeah, and we want to appreciate everybody who stepped forward to apply for the Planning Commission. We always are very appreciative of community members who step forward to be a part of the city.
Right.
And if you weren't appointed, or if you've tried in the past, there's other boards and commissions to participate in. And so we always encourage people to continue to, think about the Citizens Advisory Committee or the Arbor Committee or Lake Quality, some of those other boards that they might get involved in.
Very good. Another item from the meeting was discussion about the Board of Appeal that is coming up.
Yep.
This is again another annual event, so let's give people a little idea of what the Board of Appeal is and some of the dates that are important to remember.
Yeah, so you probably received your property valuation notice in the mail this week. They went out starting March 20th, so residents here in Maple Grove should be seeing that in their mailbox. You're going to want to pay attention to that. This is the time to come in and talk about the value that's been placed on your property for your taxes next year, for 2018. So we will be holding public meetings April 11th at 7 p.m. at the Government Center. Then we have a follow-up meeting on the 25th at 7 p.m. But if you want to appeal your property valuation, a couple ways to do that. You can call our assessor's office, and that information is included on your valuation notice, and talk with one of our assessors. A lot of times we can resolve issues at the staff level, so it's good to start there. Or you can come to the April 11th meeting. All of our assessing staff will be available that evening, but you do need to kind of start that process to get your appeal entered by that April 11th date. And then what we do on the 25th is we come back and we certify any recommendations for changes to those values that the council may have considered in that intervening time, and get staff feedback about those. So kind of an important process. We have a lot of people that come at the budget hearing time to talk about their property value, and this is the time where we do that in the spring of the year, and so if you want to talk about that, know that those public opportunities to do so are coming up.
And that notice that comes out comes from the county,
That's correct.
So
Yep.
a lot of times people look at that and think, well, it doesn't have anything to do with the city, but in fact it does.
Yep.
If people would call to talk about their value of their home to the county, my guess would be they would immediately send you back to the city. Is that the process? So
Yep.
rather than make extra calls,
Yep.
call the city first?
Yep, because we do our own assessing at the city of Maple
Right.
Grove. Some cities contract with the city, with Hennepin County to do those services. We have that service. We have that service in-house, and so you can give a call up to our assessing office, and our staff is very helpful, very responsive, and they really do their homework. And so I think what they'll find is that they will get some good information, and it'll be a good discussion, and hopefully help them understand kind of what the options are dealing with that valuation.
All right, so keep that in mind as
Yep.
we head into April. Final comment we want to make from the meeting is there's some art at the Government Center
Yeah.
thanks to the school district. Tell
Yes.
us what we can find if we go there.
Yeah, so we are hosting the District 279 Art Show, and this is coordinated by the Maple Grove Arts Center. So they work with the school district to bring in all the art, and they set it up, the Arts Center folks do. They do a great job. So if you get to the Government Center, you have an opportunity to come by in the next, it's going to be there through April 14th, so you have a few weeks here.
Okay.
And then, of course, when we're open, when the doors are open in the evenings, if there's evening meetings, like a council meeting night, it's a good time to come.
Okay.
Or certainly during the day. But we just have some great artwork in the lobby, so it's really fun to see kind of the level of talent that's amongst our youth here at Osseo area schools.
Stop by and give it a look. So
Yep.
that is a wrap up of the meeting. Again, was about an hour and 50 minutes. We'll move ahead to a couple other items that are happening in the city. You earlier mentioned the Planning Commission and filling
Yep.
those spots, and there might be other openings. There is another opening on the Arbor Committee.
Yep. Yeah, so we have our Arbor Committee, and they are really charged with focusing on the beautification of the city through tree planting and then preservation of our urban forest. And their applications are accepted through this Friday. Till 4:30 p.m., March 24th, and that information is available on our website. There's 11 members total on this committee, and they serve 3-year terms. So if you're interested and you are interested in those kinds of issues, we'd love to have you come join the committee.
Very good. We mentioned the buses earlier. Let's go back to transit, a little transit talk
Yep.
here. There are some things that have changed a little bit to help people out, possibly some things connected to ADA. Tell us what we'll find on the buses now.
Yeah, so we have added the automated bus stop and location announcement system, and that's operating not only within the buses, so as riders are coming, leaving Maple Grove or coming to downtown or coming back to Maple Grove, those announcements are happening in the buses, but also at the downtown Minneapolis route stops.
Okay.
And at the park and ride locations. So part of it is ADA, but it's also nice just to kind of have that heads-up awareness of what's happening and where the bus is going next.
Exactly. If you doze off a little bit, you will get a reminder of
Yes.
it's time to get off the bus. Let's talk about jobs in the city of Maple
Yeah.
Grove. We've got a couple areas to talk about. Seasonal jobs and also a crime specialist. Let's talk about the crime specialist first. You're looking for, this is a new position, I understand?
Nope, this is a position we've had. It's
Okay.
crime analyst,
Okay.
special services crime analyst position. This person does a lot of work with kind of GIS type data and mapping crimes, and then they do a lot of work on the back end of the system with trying to connect various crime activity
Okay.
via social media, internet, all those kinds of things that are kind of behind the scenes. And we were really happy to have our last individual, Mary, that worked with us, and she came to us from the FBI, and the FBI recruited her back. So I think they missed her.
Too good to be true,
right.
almost.
So we were happy to have her with us, and sad to see her go, but this position, again, is open through March 24th at 4:30 p.m. And so if you have an interest and have that skill set in your background, be interested in hearing from you on this
Very
application.
good. So that's
Yep.
one very specific position, but
Yep.
there's other positions that happen each year. This is
Yes.
seasonal employment. Tell us
Yeah.
about some of the job opportunities and how people can get involved there.
Yeah, we hire a lot of seasonal folks in the summertime to help us with maintenance of our parks and street maintenance, and then a lot of our recreational programs in Maple Grove. So full-time positions are available in Public Works and the Parks Department for planting, weeding, blacktopping, mowing, trail maintenance, storm sewer repair and maintenance, and then various custodial services at our buildings around town. These are great jobs. They pay well. For a college student, the hours are pretty good because they tend to be, for some of the more public works oriented jobs, and some of the more parks maintenance jobs.
Right.
You know, they're kind of daytime jobs,
Yep.
Monday through Friday. You still have your weekends. So if you have a college student coming home, or you, so for some of the jobs where you're operating equipment, you have to be 18 years or older.
Sure.
But some of the jobs more at the in the Parks Department that are more recreational oriented, they can be high schoolers, like our lifeguard program is for high schoolers. So really encourage people to get out and apply for these jobs. It's also, I know a lot of people, this is a great foot in the door to
Exactly.
get a seasonal job. And then if you're thinking about making a change in your career or something, you can think about getting into the city kind of public works or park system. This is a great way to do that as well.
And always looks good on the resume, so
Yep,
take that
yep.
opportunity. And you may think it's strange, we talk about it now in March, but it's not too early to think about it. They're looking to fill some of those positions now. All right, a couple events to tell you about coming up in the city. The first is a Women's Expo coming up on Saturday, April 1st. Tell us a little bit more about where that is and what's happening there.
Yeah, so this is a program that happens at the community center, and it's titled the It's All About You Women's Expo, Saturday, April 1 from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And they have a variety of vendors with all their products and services available, and that information is available on our website under the community center for that program.
Always a lot going on at the community center on a regular basis. Another
Yep.
date to mark down is Tuesday, April 11th. This is for open to business, and my take is it continues to go well. People need to sign
does.
up early.
It does, yeah. So our next date, this will be our 4th time. We started this program in January. Again, this is free to residents or business owners in Maple Grove. It's one-on-one business counseling, so they'll take a look at your business plan. If you're thinking about expanding, any issues that you're having, they can help with that and provide you free one-on-one counseling for that. They are at the Maple Grove Government Center the second Tuesday of the month from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. But again, we do appreciate giving a call to set up an appointment. Information on our website is available about that because mainly Rob's had a very full calendar, which
Good.
is wonderful.
Yes.
We're so happy about that because this is really getting after that kind of entrepreneurial level of economic development that we want to be making sure that if there's people who are working out of their home or they're in a small space and they're thinking about expanding or they're just thinking about starting a business, that we're growing that part of our local economy here as well.
Very good. All right, look at the city's website to find out more ways to connect with that. Now, we were talking summer just a moment ago about jobs. How about this?
Yep.
Summer and a picnic? Doesn't
Yeah,
that sound good? And
that
you have
sounds
some
good.
opportunities, and now is the time to act if you want to reserve a shelter.
Yeah, so we have some of our open air pavilions at our various parks throughout town for whether it's a family gathering or a business event. They are located at the Maple Grove Arboretum, the Weaver Lake Park, and the Community Center. And so you can just contact the Community Center, 494-6500 for those rental options. We do have some other more indoor spaces at the Town Green, and I believe you can rent the space at Central Park as well. So if you are interested in that, give a call and see what those options are. But it's coming quick.
Very good.
Yes.
Final thing we want to touch on, we've talked about it a few times, we want to continue to encourage residents to get involved. It's the Fire Home Safety Survey, and Marilyn doing a lot of work with this. Tell us what the survey is all about and why people should take advantage of it.
Yeah, so this is, our fire staff will come and they'll do a 45 to 60-minute walkthrough with the homeowner to determine potential fire, scalding, trip and fall, electrical, and other common household hazards. So they'll just kind of do a
Great service.
walkthrough and identify any hazards that you have in your home. The other piece is they'll install the stovetop fire stop, and that is really about, you know, I think you and I have talked before that a
Yep.
lot of our home fires that house fires that we respond to start in the kitchen where somebody's put something on the stove, either it gets out of control or they forget about it, and pretty soon they've got a pretty good fire going in the kitchen.
Right.
So this stovetop fire stop gets installed, and then it gets triggered if there's flames and can help kind of knock that down before it becomes an issue. So you can call our Deputy Fire Marshal Marilyn Arnland at 494-6091. Information on our website about that as well. But they'll come out, they'll schedule that up with you, and they'll send out one of our fire safety folks to walk through your house
Very
with
good.
you.
Great opportunity.
Yep.
Final comment we want to make, we promise an update about the dome, and
Yeah.
we're going to deliver here. So
Yeah.
how is the dome doing now? I understand we're back in operation, but some things to look at down the road.
We are. We're back in operation,
That's
and
good.
you know, the Parks and Recreation staff did a great job because this went down Tuesday morning, and by Friday Friday at 6 p.m., we were back up and operating.
That is something.
And initially, you know, we weren't sure we were going to meet that weekend deadline. We had a lot of teams scheduled in there for tryouts over the weekend, and so we really pushed through to try to get that. So kudos to the Park and Rec staff for making that happen. The one piece that we're still looking at is we lost quite a few light fixtures in there. So if you're in there, you might think it's a little dimmer than it used to be, and that's true.
And it is.
They space things out a little bit more for right now, and we're going to just try to muddle through. We have only a few weeks left of dome operation,
right,
and then we'll address that when the dome comes down before we put it back up next fall. We might look at changing some of those fixtures out for LED and making an upgrade since we have so many to replace. We lost about almost 45 lights in there, so yeah. So it might be a little bit dimmer. We know that, but I think it's working out okay. But again, thanks to the staff that really pulled through on this one to get it back up and operating.
Very fast response. Very good. Heidi, thank you very much again for your time. Let's leave you with some information you might need to know for the next meeting and also for contacting the city. The website you see, maplegrovemn.gov, a lot of information there. Also, Facebook, Twitter, all those ways to connect with the city. Certainly do that. Next meeting is Monday, April 3rd, 7:30 p.m. at the Government Center. Phone number to the city is below, and our viewer response line 533-1710 if you have questions or comments for the program. For Heidi Nelson, I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks again for joining us.